Yes, yeah, it was a very busy, very fun weekend. We had people coming out from all over the place. Events in Eastern Ward today, had an event down in Ellensburg, and believe it or not, there were two people from King County. One of them came over just to meet me. The other one was in town and saw we were having a rally, and they both stopped. They both talked to me for quite a while. And there's a lot of support in King County.
That's fantastic. We had, it was really a marathon. I mean, we started
Yes.
Saturday morning, drove all the way out to Clarkston. And I'll be honest with you, Loren, when we were driving out there, I really didn't know where we were going. Clarkston is far. And
A lot of farm country out there. That's for sure.
oh, it was beautiful. And we had a fantastic time, packed house as usual. Had a great time with those folks. A lot of support out there in southeastern
Yes.
Washington. Then we headed back out to Walla Walla. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. People come from everywhere to come out to see you, to hear what you have to say.
It's
We're
amazing,
out. It is.
just meeting all those people and shaking hands and taking pictures, signing autographs, which is still really weird for me, but it's awesome. I mean, everybody asks me, aren't you tired? Because they see the amount of events that we're doing and the miles that we're putting on. But no, I'm not tired. Every time I have a meet and greet or a rally and see the enthusiasm and excitement of the people that are coming there and the numbers of people that are coming there, it energizes me. I'm in this to win it, and I don't care how long it takes. But I'm going all the way, and we're going to stay busy. That's what this is all about.
It's all about activity. So we went from Walla Walla, went out to Tri-Cities, had a great rally there, had live band, food, fantastic, probably 300 plus people there at that rally. Had a really great time out there in the Tri-Cities area.
Yeah, it's exciting, to see that many people come. We had the live band, food trucks, vendors, and to see everybody out there and the reaction from people, it's absolutely amazing. And that's how we're going to take this state back. That's how we're going to bring individual freedom and liberty is with the support of the people.
Absolutely. So that was, I said that was Saturday. That was actually Sunday, right? I'm lost. I honestly, Loren, I don't even know what day it is, to be honest with you. I think it's
today's Tuesday, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I know they start running together. We
Yeah,
had some late nights and early mornings.
Yeah, early mornings.
I think I got 5 hours sleep one night, and then I was up in the morning doing interviews, and then heading out to a meet and greet, and then a rally, and it's exciting to see what's happening. Is very exciting.
So we did. So that was Sunday. What we were just talking about was Sunday, because Saturday was huge because we went out to Sela in the morning, had a fantastic time with the folks out in Sela. And then we packed it up and we went up and we had a blowout event, just absolutely a blowout event out in the Kashmir Monitor, Wenatchee area.
Yes.
You want to tell the folks about that?
Hot Rod Cafe.
Rod Cafe.
Yes, in between Kashmir and Wenatchee, there's the Hot Rod Cafe right at that one main intersection with the traffic light on Highway 2. And people packed that place. I mean, it was right outside the Hot Rod Cafe. We had a trailer set up for a stage. We had speakers, a microphone and speakers, and I didn't think people were going to stop coming. It was amazing. Filled up the parking lot. They were parking on the street. And that's probably close to one of the biggest crowds that we've had.
There was a 400 plus at least.
Yeah, I know that I spent an hour and a half after I got done speaking, talking to people and taking pictures and just continue to get the message out. The support, people volunteering, people buying signs. It's absolutely amazing. It's like the CULP train is going and nobody's stopping it. It's growing bigger and bigger and faster and faster. And it's because all of you watching this, sharing the content, It's amazing. And by the way, I keep forgetting to say this at the beginning, but if anybody is interested in a yard sign, type in the comments, #yard sign, and our virtual assistant, Lucy, will get to you right away and get you connected with a volunteer to get you a sign.
100%. So a lot of great things going on, a lot of not so great things going on in King County. Loren, I sent you an article earlier today. It's just the
lunacy.
circus. It's just I was going to use the word stupid, but lunacy is right there. It's just bananas. So COVID crisis. Governor Inslee, obviously, we all know everything that's happened. Now, apparently, there is a Superior Court judge who has said that if you are a law school graduate and you have a diploma, they have blessed you and said, congratulations, you're an attorney. Because COVID, you don't have to take the bar exam. Your thoughts tonight?
That makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, the bar exam is not easy from what I hear. I'm not a lawyer, but I think wasn't it Hillary Clinton that took the bar exam like eight or nine times?
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case.
I've known lawyers that finally passed it, but have taken it 8 or 9 times, believe it or not. But they're just handing it out now because of COVID, and that doesn't make any sense. I know some very good lawyers, they get a bad rap. I know that, everybody makes jokes about lawyers, but I know some really good lawyers, really good prosecutors. But to just hand someone permission to practice law just because you passed the class without passing the bar. I mean, what about the electricians? Do they get to skip their test with the state and go wire people's houses just because they passed a school or a test? What about the everybody else? I mean, are they just going to skip any testing for everybody, or is this just for lawyers? I mean, the judge is a lawyer, obviously. I think most judges are lawyers.
Right.
So, I mean, is that a little bias or what?
I mean, hairdressers, stockbrokers, dog groomer. I mean, anybody that has to get has to get take a test, take an exam to get a license.
Right.
None of them get hooked up.
No, just
only
the lawyers. It doesn't make sense. But that's more of the lunacy of the left.
Yeah.
It just gets weirder and weirder every day.
I can't even. It's I have friends that call me, Loren, every day because they know that I'm out here and they say
in Washington State.
In Washington,
right.
and they say, is this real? Like they honestly, like, they see it on TV and they don't think it's real. They think
is this stuff really happening that I'm seeing? Is this fake news? What is going on?
Yeah. I get that question. I'm like, no.
Pills? Who's taking crazy pills? Us or them? It's like. It's so weird.
It is. It's very weird, and I don't know where the lunacy is going to end. I do know when, though. I know that it's going to end on August 4th. Is going to be the beginning of the end, and then November 3rd is going to be the end of the lunacy. So.
Yep, and then we take over the middle of January and start the process of getting things back to the way that they should be, with some common sense and the rule of law.
And Loren, and I think that Washington really needs healing, doesn't it? I mean, it's just been through such a trauma.
Yeah, one thing after another. First, I mean, this was back in December. Jay Inslee put a lot of mom and pop shops out of business. So remember that the flavored vape thing that was all over the news, and it turns out that it was fake news. Because it wasn't about manufactured flavored vape. It was about homemade concoctions that people were using that caused some people to die. Yeah. But Jay Inslee, on a knee-jerk reaction, shut down the flavored vape industry in this state. And there's thousands of businesses that are in that line of work, and shut down mom and pop shops overnight.
And you were the only candidate, Loren, that had the courage to stand up for the vape community And I remember back in the day when it was real cold in the beginning of our campaign season, we were out at a lot of different vape shops, small crowds,
Yep.
15, 20 folks, but we were out there to support them, let them know that we didn't like what the governor was doing to them, putting them out of business.
Yeah, and he did. Even when the truth came out that it was about people putting THC and vitamin E acetate and making their own homemade concoctions for vape, that truth came out that was the cause of people's illnesses, and some people died, not commercial vape. It still took him a long time to reverse his decision. You know, he
Sure.
ordered the health department to shut them down, and there are vape shops that never came back from that. You know, and
Right.
that's people's investment, that's people's livelihood, that's employees working at those places, all over his decision. And you know, I'm not suggesting that people smoke or vape, but if you do smoke tobacco, vape is a very good way to quit smoking tobacco. Vape is a lot more safer than tobacco, and I recommend that if you do smoke tobacco, try vape, because you can quit. I quit smoking cigars with vape, and it's much more healthy.
Yeah, it was really sad to see. There was a young lady. Her name escapes me at this point, Loren, but she had two shops, and she lost them both, and
Right.
because of this, and she couldn't pay her employees. I mean, I think people forget, Loren, that these are real people, just like you,
Absolutely.
just like me, just like our viewers at home. These are real people, and you know, they're not driving Ferraris.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're driving the
Yep.
5-year-old Toyota. You know, I mean, it's you know, these are real folks. These are middle class folks that are trying to realize their dream. And
Exactly. Just like anybody in any other business, you know, the barbers, the hairdressers, the nail salons, the mom and pop cafes. You know, these are people who have put themselves out there to try to cut out a living and make life better for themselves and their family. And you have someone like Jay Inslee with his hand on a switch and just shuts them down on a whim, you know, just like he did with the COVID. And I've been telling people all weekend, every meet and greet, every rally we had, you know, it's easy to beat up on Jay Inslee because he does so many stupid things. But what I would have done if I was governor and a virus happened, I would have had press conferences with the medical professionals and had them put out the information about what they think it is, what the citizens should do to protect themselves, what might happen if they don't follow the medical advice. And then, as governor, make sure that the supply chains are open so that equipment and personal protective gear gets to the people that it needs to get to. And then let citizens make the decision for themselves. We are free people. You know, we can decide once we have the information. I trust citizens a whole lot more than I do the government to do anything right. So they can make decisions once they have the information based on what they want to do for their friends and their family and their business. And if they want to open their shop, if they want to wear a mask, if they want to have customers wear a mask when they come into their business, that's their business. They should make the decisions. And if customers don't want to come into their business, then that's their free choice as well. That's the difference between somebody who wants to be a dictator and someone who understands the servant role of government. You know, you have to abide by the Constitution, which is a rule of law, and it's the supreme law in our land. And with a firm grasp on the Constitution, you know what to do given any situation, if it's constitutional or not, right? That's the rule book. What Jay Inslee's doing, it's like playing football, and the referees are throwing the flag and blowing the whistle whenever they want to change something or add a new rule. Nobody would want to play football because it would be chaos, and nobody would want to watch a game because nobody knows what's going on. And that's what's happening right now with our economy, with small businesses, with big businesses. And Jay Inslee has no clue. He's not following the rule book, which is the Constitution. You know, Article 1, Section 1 says that the power is inherent in the people and government is there to protect our rights. We elected Jay Inslee to run the executive branch of the state government, not our businesses, not our lives. He is way out of his lane. And when I'm governor, I will make sure that with the firm grasp on the Constitution that I make decisions based on that, and based on that I know citizens are free and able to make decisions for themselves and their family and their own business.
Now you're going to have the latitude to be able to make appointments. I think there's roughly, 1,200 or so appointments, 1,500, or I'm not sure what the number is, but there's a lot, well north of 1,000. Some department heads you get to change. How are you going to handle the selection process on who you choose, specifically on the senior level positions, that department heads and so forth?
Right. Well, right after the election in November, after I win, we're going to have the month of November, month of December, and half the month of January. And I'm going to be vetting people for those positions. And they're going to have the same mindset that I do, that government is the servant of the people, not their master. And they're going to have to understand that, or they're not going to be appointed. They're there to serve the citizens as a public servant and abide by the Constitution and not infringe on citizens' rights. And also to lower the budget of the state government. State government, what was it? 8 years ago, 9 years ago, the state budget was about $30 billion, which is a lot. And now it's pushing $60 billion a year. In a short span, it's almost doubled, close to $60 billion. And the roads aren't any better. The services aren't any better. So we can cut the budget. We just need to cut the spending and root out redundancy in every department. And that's what I will have department heads working on from day one. And get this government back under control so that we're not, it's not a big bloated government lording over everyone and sucking up tax money like it's going out of style. Because the government doesn't produce anything itself. It takes from the citizens. It takes from the productive citizens of Washington State to fund itself. And we need to cut that back. We're going to have to cut it back the way Jay Inslee has killed the economy. But it needs to be cut back nevertheless.
Right. So apparently 60 billion isn't enough, or I think this year's budget's 53 billion. It's roughly $1 billion a week is what we're spending in here in Washington State. Jay Inslee just asked the federal government for another 100 million. I think you and I discussed this the other day briefly. $100 million to hand out, hand out to illegal immigrants, people that came to this country, broke federal law, and are here in this country illegally. He's asked for $100 million to hand out to them, kind of as a stimulus check out to them, taxpayer money. How do you feel about that?
Well, Jay Inslee signed into law last June, making Washington State a sanctuary state for people who enter our country by breaking our law. And I totally disagree with that. I was against that, but he signed it into law last May. And what that does is it keeps your local law enforcement, your local jail, your local sheriff from letting the federal government know that a criminal is in your local jail, not because they entered this country illegally, that's one crime, but they committed another crime in our community and they're in our local jail. But according to Jay Inslee and the law that he signed last May, your local police and sheriff cannot notify the federal government that there is an illegal criminal in your local jail about to be released onto the streets back in your community. That makes absolutely no sense unless you want lawlessness to continue, because most people that commit crimes reoffend. And so these people are just turned back out on the street. And we've seen it time and time again where people are hurt and murdered and raped by people that are here illegally and are turned right back out on the street. They just caught a person down by Cleellum just a few days ago. Same situation. It's ridiculous.
So the sanctuary state law last year was passed roughly 1 month to the day almost after the murder of a deputy in
In
was that
Kittitas County.
Kittitas County? Yes, and was killed by an illegal alien who shouldn't have even been here.
Right. Yeah. I just was on a rode Harley from Spokane Valley to Kittitas on the end of watch ride. And they're traveling all around the United States, but we rode to Kittitas to honor that deputy that was killed. And that trailer that they're towing, they have a truck behind the motorbikes, and the covered trailer that they have has got the picture of every police officer that lost their life in the line of duty in 2019. And they're traveling all around the United States, visiting every department that lost an officer. And it was my honor to be invited to ride on the first leg of that. It's sad that is continuing to happen, and police are being demonized every time you turn on the news. It's a shame that Mr. Floyd was killed by that police officer. No police training teaches you to put your knee on someone's neck and hold them down for 8 to 10 minutes, or to put your knee on their neck at all. There's no department that has a manual that says that's okay to do. That officer acted outside of his training and outside the policy. And good police officers arrested him and put him in jail. There's 800,000 police officers across this country who are protecting their communities where they live and work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're out there putting their lives on the line to protect good people from evil people, and to put bad people in jail. And to paint all of them with a broad brush because of the actions of a few is ridiculous. There have been hundreds, if not thousands, of clergy that have abused children. And we don't paint a broad brush across all of them, because it's not right. The person who is guilty is the guilty one, not everyone in that profession. It makes me sick to see what's going on.
Another slap in the face as we move on. Just a parting thought on that is Los Angeles County down in California has now said that no overtime pay for police officers out there working the nightmare that they've created. It's just unreal, and they never miss an opportunity to punch police officers and our law enforcement community, first responders in the face, and it's just disgusting. Right. And hopefully, Loren, you can put an end to that come January.
Our police and our veterans are going to be honored when I'm governor. Like I said, these people putting their life on the line and protecting their communities, and to be painted with a broad brush because of a few, it absolutely doesn't make any sense unless you are just absolutely against law and order. What about David Dorn? Has anybody heard of David Dorn? He's a retired 77-year-old former police chief in St. Louis. And when riots started in St. Louis, he went to a friend's pawn shop to protect it. And looters showed up, and they shot him and left him bleeding on the sidewalk while they live videoed him bleeding out on the sidewalk, and as they're looting that business. What about David Dorn? Yeah. He's a black man in St. Louis. Do Black Lives Matter, or only when the police kill black men? There's hundreds, around 100 a month killed in Chicago every month. Just Chicago. 20, 30 a weekend. And Black lives only matter when a police officer kills a black man? I think all lives matter. We are all one race, and that's the human race. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, or gray. It doesn't matter. We're all humans. We're all part of the human race, and we need to stop with the division. People need to come together instead of dividing us by color, because that doesn't matter. If color matters, then you're racist. I don't care what side of the fence you're on.
So there's something that we need to talk about tonight that is definitely on the minds of the folks at home. It's something that Jay Inslee has no idea about.
He doesn't have an
Everyone
idea
else,
about much of anything.
everyone else on the planet, or at least on this part of the planet, knows about this. Jay Inslee hasn't heard about it. So that's the situation with Chaz, or whatever they're calling it now. Chaz or Chop, or I don't know what they call it now. I think
It'll probably be something else tomorrow. It
yeah.
doesn't matter, but yeah, the occupation.
So the occupation downtown. Let's talk a little bit about it. It's today, new information came out. Mayor in Seattle decided to negotiate with terrorists. Basically, the long and the short of it is that they're going to move Chaz up and over about a few blocks away, and they're going to provide them with cement barricades to so people can't drive through there. So basically,
So
she's
fences
like,
and borders work. Is that what they're saying?
walls work apparently. For
Apparently.
Chaz they work, and so they're basically giving the city this area in Seattle to these people, and it's outrageous. And
Well,
you've got some thoughts on it, I know.
I've talked about that at every event we were at this weekend. People are wondering where I stand on this, and I've told everybody that I've talked to that we have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. That's in the First Amendment. We can protest. We can say what we want. That's also a First Amendment right. And march. But as soon as it turns violent, and as soon as people are breaking glass, looting businesses, lighting buildings on fire, lighting cars on fire, throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at the police, that's no longer a constitutionally guaranteed right. That's no longer a protest. That is now a riot, and that's against the law. And it can't be left to keep going and fester, or you end up where we are right now with 6 city blocks of the biggest city in our state being under siege. There's businesses in there. There's people that live in there. They have a right to law and order as well as anybody else. And so, like I told people, it's easy to beat up on the liberals that are running Seattle. It's easy to beat up on Jay Inslee because they do so many stupid things. But what would I do as governor is the question, if a riot starts. And if I was governor and something like that started, I would have spun up the National Guard immediately and had them stage close to the scene of this the problem, and have them ready to go. And as soon as local law enforcement called for backup, they would have been there within minutes and not days, not hours. They would have been there immediately. And they would have had the tools to protect themselves, to protect property, and protect other people's lives. Jay Inslee sent them in there unarmed. And he even went a step further. He notified everybody, including the criminals, that the National Guard's coming, but they don't have any weapons to protect themselves. That's absolutely ridiculous. You don't put our young men and women in harm's way without the means to protect themselves. The National Guard's going in there as a show of force and to shut down a riot, to shut down the looting and shut down the burning. You don't send them in there and make them vulnerable. Those are our young men and women. And they have the same training. When I went to basic training, when I was in the Army in 1980, and after my basic training, I was training other citizens to be soldiers. The National Guard and the Reserve trained right alongside the regular Army. They received the same training. And to send them in there, young men and women, unarmed, unable to protect anybody, including themselves, is absolutely ridiculous. And as governor, you're the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, of the Washington State National Guard. Jay Inslee has never served in the military. He has no clue what kind of training they have or what they need to do their job. And I gave one speech, and I can't remember, there's been so many this weekend, but after I was done, a young man and a young woman came up to me and they said, "We are members of the Washington State National Guard, and we were sent into Seattle."
That was
and
Wenatchee.
they said that they could not believe that they were ordered to be unarmed, and their parents couldn't believe it either. that made their parents worry a lot. You know, they're going in there with nothing, just their uniform and a helmet. It's pathetic, and that does not need to happen. If the National Guard's coming in, they're coming in there as a show of force, and they're going to shut things down when I'm governor, and they're going to have the means to protect themselves. That's bottom line. That's just the way it's going to be, because that's their job.
What signal does this send? The negotiation, unarmed, sending the negotiation today, sending in the National Guard unarmed, sending in police, but not really allowing them to do anything. What signal does that send to other people like these folks, these Chaz people? Do you think that's going to encourage this sort of thing again, or maybe embolden the Chaz folks to say, we don't want 6 city blocks, we want 12 city blocks?
Right. Yeah. You don't negotiate with international terrorists. You don't negotiate with domestic terrorists. And like I said, I want to be perfectly clear. Peaceful protest is our First Amendment right. But when it turns into a riot and looting and burning, that's not your First Amendment right anymore. That's a crime. And the criminals need to be arrested and put in jail. And riots need to be quelled. Period.
This situation is really strange. It just really is. I mean, Loren, we're really in unprecedented times. I mean, the left has literally just they're not just off the table, they're off the planet.
Yeah.
Another angle on this. One of the demands, because Chaz is in a position to make demands, apparently.
Well, they are when they have a spineless government that is running the city that they're in, and a spineless government at the state level as well. They do. They can demand all they want because the politicians have set it up this way.
And it's not just spineless. It borders. It doesn't even border. I think it runs straight across the line of sedition. And sedition is a very serious thing. I mean, I'm not real smart, but my understanding of the word sedition is when you allow terrorists, domestic terrorists, to take land that is owned by other people, taxpayers. Right. I mean, it's stunning to me.
Well, it's bad enough that Jay Inslee shut down all the businesses except for big box stores and abortion clinics and pot shops, and the ones that he chose, right? Not based on any criteria other than that's what Jay Inslee said. He's put these business owners in a position of either they stay home and go broke, or they go to work and try to make a living, but then they have the $10,000 fine that the state has said that they'll put on anybody that doesn't abide by Jay Inslee's rules. So it puts them in a tough spot. And most people, most citizens don't want to break the law. They don't want to go against the governor's order, and they don't want to get a fine. They just want to go to work and provide for their family and get their employees some income. But they're stuck in a bad position. And then they start appeasing and allowing riots to happen and appeasing the offenders, and turn over blocks of Seattle that, like you said, belong to other people. There's businesses down there that are suffering from the stay home, go broke order. And now they're suffering from being occupied by a bunch of lawlessness. This is just lunacy. We have to have law and order. And we're going to have that come January.
So let's say for a moment that I'm a business owner or a resident that lives down there in the Chaz, formerly known as Capitol Hill, and I pay my taxes, big taxes. I not just property taxes, but state taxes, or my
B&O taxes.
Yeah, B&O taxes, all of that, federal taxes, all of that.
Collect sales tax for the state.
Yep, send it in. And I'm down there, and I can't receive goods and services in because companies won't ship goods through there anymore. So I can't do business. Customers can't come in. So what would you say to me if I was that person? What do you think they should do at this point?
Wow. I don't know that there's anything they can do. I would want them to open up. You know, if I was governor right now, these people would not be occupying uh, in Seattle like they are. Those businesses would be able to open up. But right now, I mean, they don't really have a big choice. You know, if they open their doors, they have all of those people that are in there. I saw news tonight. You know, there's a lot of people walking around that are not in their right mind. There's a lot of people that appeared to be on hard narcotics. It looked like a couple people were huffing whipped cream, and that's not a good thing to do. A lot of people not in the right mind walking around down there. So even if you did have products in your business and you opened it up, I think there would be a big problem with people coming into your store and ruining things and stealing things. So it's not a good situation all around. And if I was a business owner down there, I would be probably packing up and getting ready to move. And that's what's going to happen. You know, businesses are going to leave this state. Businesses are going to leave this state. And I've talked to so many people that that have told me, if you don't win, we're leaving. We're done with this lunatic crap that's going on. And that's really sad.
Talked to a real estate investor today, a real estate agent. He owns a real estate a brokerage firm, and he's told me directly. He said, we support Loren Culp for governor. If he does not win in November, then we're leaving. We're going to Idaho. Right. I talked to another political operative who's a very good friend of mine, been in the business a long time. He lives in King County. And he told me, he said, Chris, this weekend, do you know what I'm doing? And I said, what's that? And he said, first, I'm stopping in Idaho to look at property with a realtor. And then we're headed on to Montana to look at property out there. Because if Loren doesn't win in November, then we're done. We're moving out.
This state is done. If we have another 4 years of Jay Inslee, this state is done. It's so done. Businesses are not going to stay here. You know, it's a high-tech state. It's highly regulated state. It's hard to do business. You know, I sold my business to my son about 15 years ago, 12 years ago, somewhere in there. And it was hard to run a business then, you know, taxation and regulation. It was hard. And I know it's not gotten any easier. Both my son and my brother are self-employed. It's ridiculous. You know, our state government should be there to help citizens start a business, because that's what grows an economy. You know, that's what gives the state money to fix our roads and to provide the services that it does. But when you're taxing people to death and you're regulating them to death, and then turn right around and let lawlessness happen like it has, and on top of that, shut down businesses because you say so, it's beyond an unfriendly state for business and for families. It's sad because I love this state. I grew up here. My grandkids are growing up here. You know, I'm going to work like people have ever seen once I get in the governor's office to get this state back to the way it was when I grew up. Back to freedom.
Well, there's definitely, you know, this has been an uphill climb for the campaign, but we're climbing that mountain. It's going to be an uphill climb for you when you're governor. But knowing you the way that I do, I know that you have the courage and the conviction to climb that mountain as well.
Absolutely.
Speaking of climbing mountains, we've got some PDC numbers. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Let's let everyone know what's going on in the campaign world.
Yeah, so there's a lot of rhetoric, a lot of people talking. One of our opponents, went online and cried and whined because somebody took down some signs. We didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, we put, Loren, I put the word on the street multiple times publicly, even on this show, saying, listen, that's not how we do business around here.
No, wait a minute. You mean we don't have a sign removal committee?
I don't. What? No, we scrapped that.
Oh, no, my God. That. Are you serious? Oh, I thought we did. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, if we did, I'd have a checkbox on the volunteer thing. Like, what do you
Right.
want to do? You want to make calls? You want to sell signs, or would you like to go remove the signs? It's
Right.
just ridiculous. It's dumb. We've
Yeah.
got people dying in Seattle. We've got terrorists taking over portions of the state. And this opponent, he wants to whine and cry about because somebody took daddy's signs, and it's just dumb. And it really shows the pathetic nature of other folks in this race. They're just not taking it serious. There are
Right.
7.5 million people, Loren, in this state, and there's billions of dollars at stake. People's lives, people's livelihoods, their investments, their families. And this
Right.
guy's crying maybe even about signs, and this is it's just a sign, typical sign of a candidate and a campaign in collapse. You look at the numbers, PDC numbers, and
Yeah, let's have those numbers.
they start to bear that out. Really, why they are where they are. March we posted, or I'm sorry, April we posted pretty good numbers. It was one of a stellar month for us, Loren. 78,000 is what we knocked down. Almost double what everybody else did. Last month we killed it, $150,322 raised, and none of our other opponents were close. The closest one to us was over 50,000 away from us, 52,000 away from us. It's just dominance, and which is what we like to see, because that's what we do around here is we win. And that's the mentality that we have, is that we win. We go to work, we work hard. We have the hardest working. Loren, you have an army of people that love you and love freedom.
Yeah, I know. Every rally I go to, everything's all set up before I get there. Everything's torn down after I leave and moved on to the next one. It's absolutely incredible. Our volunteers, they're just angels. That's all.
It's unreal. I mean, the only,
yeah.
Or the only, I've worked on big campaigns, a lot of big campaigns over the years, and the only other time I've ever seen volunteers and people as energized is when I worked for the president in 2016. People, they'll do anything. They're just anything you ask them to do. I get calls all the time. Hey, Chris, what can I do for the campaign? And then I funnel them over to Nick, or I send them over to one of the regional directors. And we're the only campaign, Loren, that has built a statewide organization. This campaign has legs, and the numbers bear that out. So we're killing it in May. All done with that. That's in the history books. June rolls around. So now in June, ladies and gentlemen, we have to report every week, and all of the information that we're giving out here today is not secret. It's not it's not under the fold.
It's all on the PDC website.
Absolutely.
And starting in June, it's used to be every campaign had to report monthly. Now, since we're so close to the primary, every campaign has to report weekly, correct? So,
yes.
Yeah. How's things going
weekly.
month?
So week one, we're going to give those numbers out. Loren Culp for governor, week one, $39,206. Not a bad day at the office there. Joshua Freed, $6,257. A little bit sad on that one. Tim Eyman, 13,443. Phil Fortunato in the rear with the gear, as usual, with $2,025. Week two, Loren Culp. Week one, 39,000. Week two, $41,344. Eye-popping number. Josh stepped it up, had a great week. Josh did 312. Still, a mile behind us. Tim Eyman kind of had a rough week. $3,621 what he raised. Phil Fortunato, I'm not sure what happened there. $675. It was all he was able to raise. Week three, we don't have final numbers, but I can tell you that week three will be bigger than week two. So
nice.
It's unbelievable.
This is all because of our volunteers and our donors. And is the average donation 100%. To our campaign still about $80 a person? Is that about the average?
It is.
So that just
close.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of people that got a lot of money, so we don't get very many people that donate $4,000. I come from We the People. You know, I'm one of We the People, and that's who I'm connecting with. And with an average donation of $80 a person to get to $150,000 in 1 month, that is a lot of people. And every person that donates is a vote. So whatever, all of you guys out there that are supporting my campaign, whatever you're doing, keep on doing it. Spread the word. Volunteer if you can. Donate if you can afford to. Keep sharing our posts. Share this Facebook Live right now. Keep spreading the message because it's growing. And not only that, but our social media numbers are huge.
Unbelievable. We're at 27,000 now.
And over 30,000 likes on Facebook.
Yeah, 27,000 likes, over 30,000 followers.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And our next closest competitor hasn't even broke 10,000, right?
Nope, not yet. There's still.
Yeah, you guys are killing it.
Yeah. Every measurable way you can look at this, Loren. I mean, it's just dominance, and it's something that it's just unquestionable. In anybody that looks at these numbers, and I mean, we've overtaken. You know, if you take out all the in-kind money and all the general election money that they can't spend, and you take out personal money that you throw into a race to try to puff up your numbers, we have outraised everyone. There is no one that has raised more primary dollars than us, and
that's amazing.
And that's by a lot, by about 60,000.
With small donors.
All small donors.
It's amazing.
5,176 individual donors reported on PDC.
Absolutely amazing.
Closest one is about 2,100. Little better than 2,100. I think it's like 2,160 or 2,150 or something like that. Wow. But that's the closest one. So by 2.5. And when we look at our internal poll numbers, I mean that it's reflecting on that, right? I mean,
yeah, it's amazing. I'm very humbled by the support. You know, I'm just standing up and doing the right thing, just like I did back in 2018. You know, when I stood up for citizens' rights, I could have lost my job. There was no election going on in 2018. So doing the same thing again, you know, and it's amazing the support that we're getting all across this state.
So these numbers are fantastic. Totals for the month, $80,550.49 for the CULP for Governor campaign thus far reported. It's actually more than that, a lot more than that, which we'll see those numbers on Monday, because we raised, we've done some great work over the last few days. Joshua Freed, second place. So we're at 80,550. He's only around 34,569. Tim Eyman, $17,064, and then Phil Fortunato back there with 2,700. So
yeah, you guys, it's working. Just keep doing what you're doing.
And Loren, I think that speaks to the fact that I don't have to steal anybody's yard signs.
Right.
And you know, it's not something that we preach. It's not something that we tell people to do. We've never asked anybody to do that. We never will. We don't need to. We just continue to tell the truth. And, you know, as long as we always tell the truth and we continue to move forward and we continue to talk to the folks about the things that matter to them, I think we're going to be successful, Mr. Culp.
Absolutely, because that's what it's all about, is we the people, and returning our government to the servant role that it's supposed to have, so that we can get on with our lives and not be taxed and regulated to death, and have freedom, individual freedom and liberty, what it's all about, you know. I want this state to be like it was when I grew up, for my grandkids, for everyone's kids and grandkids, and we're doing it. And we're doing it because of everybody out there.
So every time we have one of these meet and greets, you know, I'm amazed at how easily you just fit in. You know, I work with a lot of egos. I work with a lot of politicians that have been in this 25 years. I've seen those guys. They're all the same, right? They have difficulty relating to people, but you just walk through the crowd and folks like you. And one of the things I think that has built this campaign is the fact that you're just a normal guy.
I don't know how to be anything else. That's
right.
That's just who I am. You know, I served in the military. I ran my own business. First I worked in construction, learned the trades, and then I ran my own business for 20 years. I'm just a blue collar man, working hard, playing hard, raise a family, have as much fun as you can, and just want to be left alone and get the government off my back. And that's where I come from. That's where most Americans are at. They just want to work hard, make a living for them and their family, and have a good time doing it. And just get the government off my ass, basically.
There you go.
Keep them out of my business. Let me go about my pursuit of happiness. And I know everybody else feels that way, and that's all I am. I mean, I don't have to be fake. I don't have to make up stuff. I just tell it like I feel it, and because that's the way most people feel, because that's where I come from. Just a normal guy.
So, being a man of the people, you ready to take some Q&A questions from the folks out there in Facebook land?
Yes.
All right. So we got we got a ton of people. I mean, it's been up over 600, and then now it's in the mid 500s. It keeps going up and down. So we got a lot of folks tonight. So
thank you all for being on here.
Absolutely. So let's get some questions rolling in here. A lot of comments, a lot of loves, a lot of likes. Great energy in this campaign. Let's see here. Michael said he had a CULP sign stolen from his house. Michael Conley, contact me. No, contact Nick Culp, and we'll get you a sign. Let's see here. Questions. We got some rallies coming up, so let's talk about some of the things we got coming up while I'm looking for questions.
Yeah, that would be great. Except I didn't write down where we're going to be at. But if everybody goes to, after we're done with this, if you want to know where the next rally is, go to our website, culpforgovernor.com, and click on the events tab. And we have the rallies coming up listed on there. We're going to be in Twist by tomorrow night. And then
Twist.
We're heading for the west side after that. Lots of events coming up.
All right.
I'm full-time campaigning right now.
Chris Strawn has a question. When you get elected, what are you going to do with the WDFW?
The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. What am I going to do with them? Well, and that was Chris that asked that?
Yes, Chris. Chris Strawn. Let me find it.
All right, that's okay. Thanks, Chris, for the question. I am a lifelong hunter and fisherman. I went fishing. I remember just when I was old enough to hold a pole and be helped alongside of a creek or a lake. I went fishing with my grandpa. I went fishing with my dad. And I've been hunting ever since I was old enough. So Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, the director is not appointed by the governor, sadly, but the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Commission is appointed by the governor. And I will make sure that people who actually have a vested interest in hunting and fishing are appointed to the Fish and Wildlife Commission, because they set the parameters, they set the rules, and they direct the department. Thanks for that question.
Let's see. Lisa Badger, she asked, she probably showed up late. She said, how would you deal with Chaz? So I know we discussed that a little bit, but why don't you discuss a little bit more about, dealing with Chaz? So let's pretend that you just get appointed right now. Magically, fairy dust happens, and then, stroke of lightning, and you're sitting in the governor's mansion. How are you going to deal with Chaz? What has to happen right now?
Okay, so, but back it up a little bit. Chaz would not even be in existence if I had been governor when the riots had started. But, okay, say somebody waves a magic wand and tomorrow morning I'm in charge.
Right.
So we are going to shut that down. We're going to bring back law and order to that area for those people that live there, for the businesses that are there. And we are going to arrest anyone who does not leave peacefully. They're going to be given a warning, and they're going to be told that they need to disperse. And if they don't, they are going to be arrested. And then they have a choice, either to follow the lawful order from law enforcement or not. And the National Guard will be there and the State Patrol to back up the local police.
Stephanie Baker has a question. Do you have any plans for the DSHS, like looking into corruption and mismanagement?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Corruption and mismanagement are rampant in our state government. There's a ton of overspending. There's a ton of redundancy in every department. And all of the department heads that I appoint are going to have the same mindset that I do, that the Constitution is a rule of law and that our government is there to serve the citizens and protect their rights. And so every department head that I appoint, I think I talked about this a little earlier. It might have been at the meet and greet earlier today. They're all running together. But I'm going to have, from the election in November, I'm going to have the month of November, December, and half of January to get my appointments in order and vet people, interview them, and make sure that they're a right fit. But everyone's going to have the same thinking about the role of government that I had, that our state government is there to serve the people. We are not here to serve the government like Jay Inslee thinks we are. And the government is not our master. It is our servant. And every department head was going to have that same mindset. And we are going to, once they're appointed on day one, they're going to look through their budget, look through their personnel, and decide what they need to do for their department to bring it in compliance with my thinking. And we're going to work on cutting expenses. I know there's a ton of redundancy in a lot of departments. I know a lot of people that work in state government. I've had relatives that have worked in state government. But I do have a lot of friends right now that are in different departments. And I know that there are a lot of people that do the same thing, like on one application. In one instance, it will go to 50 different people before it's approved or rejected. Now, if you try to run a private business like that, you're going to go broke. If you try to run a state business like that, you're either going to suck up all the money from the citizens and businesses to keep it going, or it's going to go broke because people will end up leaving the state. So that's what I plan on doing.
So we've had a lot of questions, a lot of the same question here. And I know we've addressed this several times. And I've actually, Loren, received 3 different emails on this today, or messages today on this.
Let's get it out there.
What are your thoughts on pro-life?
My thoughts on pro-life?
Yeah,
I am
abortion
pro-life.
and
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's ever appropriate to kill a human being, whether they're born or preborn. You know, that baby has a right to life, just like anybody else. And just because they haven't taken a breath of air doesn't mean that they don't have any rights. So I will protect the unborn if I get the chance. But this is a federal matter. It's already been settled at the federal court. I don't agree with abortion. And whether that would ever come across my desk from the Washington State Legislature, it is highly doubtful. But it has been settled at the federal level. But that's my personal opinion. I don't think it's right to kill an unborn human baby.
So let's see here. So Bob Martin has a question. Can you comment on the charges of misappropriated funds that were used? He's talking about the PDC complaint that was filed against us that has since been adjudicated. You want to share with the folks? Maybe they didn't watch the last VMG that we discussed that, because that's all done.
About the PDC complaint against me?
Yeah, against us. Yeah.
The question is about?
Yeah. Just an update on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's been all settled. No fine, no foul. It's all over. The complaint was that I didn't have a legitimate business, but I do. And they looked into that and found that out. And the complaint was that I was enriching myself by having the campaign buy my books at wholesale. Because that's what was happening. The campaign was buying my book, American Cop. I'm #1 best-selling author with American Cop. And I was, up until I started running, I was going to speaking engagements all over the state and selling my book at full retail. And so when I started the campaign, the book's very popular. I thought it'd be a good idea to use the book as a fundraiser. So the campaign was buying my books at wholesale, selling them at retail, and keeping the difference. as a way to raise funds. And someone would complain that I was enriching myself. Well, that's all done and behind us now.
Yeah, and there was no wrongdoing found.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And,
I have a legitimate business. I pay business B&O tax. I pay sales tax. It's all it's all legitimate, and that's what the PDC found out.
Yep. So that's it.
It's just
so,
people trying to attack me. You know, I've been attacked. I've been people tried to blackmail me. By the way, that's still at the prosecuting attorney's office, deciding what they're going to do about that. You know, I'm not the party favorite. I'm not the elite's favorite. I'm not the media favorite. I'm the people's candidate. You know, I'm not controlled by anybody. I don't have any special interests that I'm going to be working for, except for the citizens of Washington State. And people don't like that. Like you said earlier, there are billions of dollars at stake. There are a lot of companies that get taxpayer money and sweetheart deals, and they're looking at not having that anymore when I'm in office. But I don't care. I don't care if I'm the political class favorite. I don't care whose favorite I am. The people are speaking, and the people are the ones that I'm going to represent, because that's who I am. I am just coming from the people. So they're going to attack me anytime they can, try to blackmail me, make complaints to the PDC. I'm sure that there will be, I don't know what they got up their sleeve, but they can send anything out they want. You know, they're not going to find anything, because there's nothing to find.
So Amy Bailey wanted to know, are you coming to King County?
Absolutely. Yes.
Let's see. Not just are we coming to King, it's not are we, it's how many times are we coming? We're coming a lot. We're going to spend a lot of time in King County. And
just keep checking the events page on culpforgovernor.com.
We got some great stuff coming.
We do.
Great stuff. You guys are going to love what we got coming up. Let's see here. More questions. Your thoughts on the unemployment fraud?
Okay. Talk about disgusting, right? The unemployment office, they had what? Two things they had to do, right? Make sure people that were unemployed got their money, and make sure that it was secure. Well, they failed miserably in both of those. I believe last count it was over $1 billion that was lost. They recovered a little bit of it, but that's absolutely ridiculous. You know, there are safeguards in place. When someone applies for unemployment, they check to see if they have actually worked in this state. You know, they're a real person on the rolls, and then they send out a letter to the employer, so the employer can verify that, yeah, that person worked here, they're laid off, they need unemployment. And then they go through the process of issuing it. But because they're inept, they took safeguards out of the way and just started issuing checks to anybody and everybody that was applying for it. How competent is that, right? But that person still works there, still is in charge of that department, thanks to Jay Inslee.
So Brandon Reynolds wants to know, what is your plan for infrastructure? And I think, you know, we're talking about transportation, roads, bridges, things like this. You know, are perpetual projects, right, that have been around for decades. It's just unbelievable. So Brandon Reynolds, who wants to know what we're going to do about infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm traveling this state. I have traveled this state. You know, I've got relatives on both sides of the state. I've lived on both sides of the state. That stretch of I-5 through Tacoma area and into Seattle, it seems like it's always under construction, just constantly for decades. You know, I remember working and living over there by Olympia, running my own business. It was under construction then. I've been back and forth many times campaigning. It's still under construction. But there's roads all over the state highways that have been one lane each direction since I was a child. You know, and every summer people go on vacation, they go camping. The semi trucks and the campers and trailers, you can't even hardly get around this state. We need to expand our roadways and spend our transportation money wisely to get this state moving. You know, these are roads that are used to transport goods and services from the farms on the eastern side to the manufacturing and plants all over the state, and then to get the products out to the public, to the stores. These are highways that are used for that. They're used for families to transport their camper, their boat, their family to go on vacation or go to work or go to school. But they've been ignored for way, way, way too long. You know, our roads are bad shape, even though we're spending, our state is spending about double what it was spending about 9 years ago. $30 billion about 8 or 9 years ago, and now it's almost doubled to $60 billion just in the span of the time that Jay Inslee's been in office. But the roads aren't any better. Our schools aren't any better. Our services from the government aren't any better. So I'm going to be looking at all of that. And the first thing I'm going to do is replace the director of the transportation department, who said in 2018 that congestion can't be fixed in this state. That person should have been fired the next day. It's like, that's your job. If you're giving up, then why are you in that position?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to get someone in there that has the ability to see things that need to be done and the will to get it done. That's the bottom line.
You know, someone had started to spread a rumor that you were anti-union, and I know that that's not the case. We've had
absolutely not.
Yeah, I've had a couple of questions here. Sean Stevens, in fact, I just saw his. He's the last one, the latest one to ask the question. Where do you stand on unions?
Thanks for the question, Sean. I was a union member. Right after I got out of the military, I worked in the refineries up in Anacortes. I was a crane operator, and I was a member of the union at that time. My oldest son is currently a foreman in the union, in the carpenters union, and has been for years. My other son owns his own company, the company that I used to own. I sold it to him when I became a police officer 10 years ago, and he's non-union. I've been both. I think that it's up to the employees and the employer whether they want to be a union or not. You know, it's not the business of the governor. That's between the free people that work someplace and their employer. You know, the government just, and that goes with a lot of things. You know, the government just needs to butt out, get back within the confines of the Constitution and the rule book for our government, and just butt out of people's business on the other things. You know, if things get out of line and employees are starting to be abused, then yeah, the government should step in and protect those people. But other than that, if they want to, if they want to unionize, if they want to work for a union company, then they work for a union company. If they don't, then they find employment someplace else. It's called free choice.
So what you're saying is that you don't have some evil scheme to run a right to work type legislation. Like this isn't something where, yeah.
Absolutely not. I am, my whole goal, like I said earlier, is to return this state to the way it was when I grew up, where individual freedom and liberty were everywhere, right? And people can make choices for themselves. The government is involved way too much. You know, they're involved in our healthcare. They're trying to tell us that we have to have a shot and we have to put something in our body, whether we like it or not. You know, that's coming. And that's absolutely ridiculous. That's not a government that is governing over free people. That's a dictatorship. And it's not going to happen when I'm governor. People are going to be able to decide what they want to do and what's best for them and their family and their business, period.
Well, on that note, I've had several people in the comments blow me up for not knowing what's coming up as far as the events. So I think we're going to end on the events tonight, Loren.
All right.
TWISP, man, I can't even say it. TWISP fundraiser meet and greet, June 17th. By the way, all the places and times and all of that you can find at our website, www.culpforgovernor.com. Click the events button. It'll take you right there. All of this information is there. But we're going to be out there in TWISP with those folks out there, Candy and George, amazing people on our staff.
Yes, they are.
They're just salt of the earth, just great people.
I love them both.
Burlington meet and greet, fundraiser meet and greet, Mount Vernon farm meet and greet, Snohomish. We've got Snohomish, Washington, the Surge Freedom Rally. That's coming up June 20th. Then that afternoon, we're out in Puyallup, the Surge Freedom Rally we're doing 2 rallies in one day. Then we've got Cowlitz County meet and greet the next day, June 21st. We're keeping you busy, Mr. Governor.
That's the way it needs to be.
Wahkiakum County meet and greet. Then we're down in Battleground, Washington. We love Vancouver down there. The Surge Freedom Rally, June 21st, 5 p.m., 8 p.m. It's going to be awesome.
And
then we do
guys,
our
these interrupt you for just a second, Chris. These
Sure.
Surge rallies, you guys, you've got to come to these Surge rallies. There's live music at almost all of them, and there's
it's
food
different
trucks.
than a meet and greet.
This is not a meet and greet. This is like a little mini festival, and they're awesome. So get out to one that's coming in your area. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. Or just pack up the kids and come on out. It's a good time. Hang out with like-minded patriots, people that love God, love country, love family, and love their state and want to see it returned back to the folks. We've got a rally in the Valley. That's going to be rally in the Skagit Valley. That's coming up June 27th. We've got a political pig roast, and we've actually got tickets on sale for that. That's going to be June 27th up there in Stanley.
Wait a second. Wait, did you say a pig roast?
It's a political pig roast.
Is that something to do with police officers? Is that why you're having this pig roast?
No, sir. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
And by the way, I want everybody to know what PIG stands for. That was a common term that people in the late 60s and early 70s called police officers, called them pigs. It's still around now. But I want everybody to know what PIG stands for. It's perseverance, integrity, and guts. I'm proud of that.
That's something police officers say, right?
Exactly. Okay, so political pig roast. When was that again?
The political pig roast, June 27th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to be fantastic. It's a limited number. You got to get your tickets to get into this thing. 75 people. That's all we have room for. But that's going on June 27th. There's a link here so you can go get your tickets and be sure to jump on that. Oak Harbor, we're coming to see you June 28th.
Your old stomping grounds.
My old stomping grounds, station at Whidbey Island. Yes, absolutely. I love Whidbey Island and Oak Harbor. Great people. Bellingham Freedom Rally. We're going to be up there in Bellingham June 28th. Puyallup Business Roundtable. We're going to be hanging out with businesses, listening to what the folks in King County, the businesses in King County have to say. So that's June 29th. So we've got a full schedule in June. We're not even going to go through July. July is just off the chain, but we've got a lot of stuff coming on, a lot of ways that you can get involved with the campaign. Come meet Mr. Culp, come have fun with other patriots. All that information, www.culpforgovernor.com. So parting thoughts, awesome. Mr. Governor.
What's going on, you guys, is just absolutely amazing. Everybody told me when I first started running that, you're not going to get support from the West Side. They're not going to support you. King County rules this state. Well, you know what? We're proving them wrong, because King County, Snohomish County, Pierce County, all the counties on the West Side are supporting our campaign. All the counties on the East Side are supporting our campaign. This has become a campaign with a life of its own. People are out putting up signs all over the place. It's crazy. Just you can go to our Facebook page and see signs, pictures of signs going up all over the state. I think we've got over 10,000 signs out now, and we don't give the signs away. It's a donation to the campaign if somebody wants a sign. And to have that many, the other campaigns can't even hardly give their signs away. But I see CULP for Governor signs everywhere, and it's all because of you guys. It's totally amazing. So
absolutely.
I'm hearing from people who are Democrats who said that the Democrat Party has just taken a hard left turn and left them standing in the middle of the road. right? And they see what I stand for. They've read my website. They've read my book or heard me speak. And they want common sense in our government. They don't want this lunatic fringe, hard left stuff going on. They don't want their communities taken over by a bunch of radicals. They want law and order. And they're voting for a Republican for the first time in their life, and they're voting for me. It's absolutely amazing. And we are going to take the state back, and we are going to bring common sense back to Olympia with your guys' help. So just keep sharing the content. If you can donate, donate. If you can volunteer, please volunteer. Remember, if you need a sign, type in #yard sign. And just thank you guys a lot. And I will see you soon on the road.
And with that, I am Christopher Gergen for Loren Live VMG. You have been listening to Mr. Loren Culp, candidate for governor. Thank you all. Have a great evening. We'll see you guys next week.
Good night, everybody. God bless.
Bye-bye.